All right.
Right.
Hello,
Hello
all.
all.
It's Annie
It's
here
Annie here.
and my friend Mandy
My friend Mandy
from
from
Texas.
Texas.
And sorry, this is
And sorry, this is
echoing
echoing
a little
a
bit,
little bit.
but
But
today
today,
Mandy will do the
Mandy will do the
talking.
talking.
So,
So
Mandy,
Make sure if I go too long over-winded, cut me off.
yes,
Mandy,
Mandy
my friend Mandy.
from Texas.
Okay, take a breath.
Cool.
Hello.
Yes.
Happy Valentines. Happy Valentines. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I
Yeah,
can.
I can.
I just
Happy
try not to be
Valentine's.
Just try
speak
not to be
because
speak
it's
Oh,
because it's
echo.
happy what is it, the day before? So what is that? The Valentine's Eve.
Yep.
So I wanted to dress up because I thought it'd be fun. But I'm not going anywhere.
It's
I just
pretty,
thought it'd be fun to come on here. Yeah.
very
So yeah, I wanted to kind of just tell a story about what has been going on lately with just interacting with other people.
yes.
Because, the more that we come back to ourselves, the more that we recover, then we start to be out and about more. And then maybe some of our old kind of patterns and behaviors in ourself that were suppressed with substances for most of our lives, for some of us,
Yep.
what that can look like when we are past kind of the post-acute withdrawal part of it, the rewiring part of it. Well, maybe some of that stuff is still kind of coming, working out, but that when that part is so much better, and then we start to unravel the emotions, the behaviors, and things like that. I just think it's so important when we are going through that part of the process, and I really do believe that that is only possible to kind of get that second chance
Yep.
that we had the first time while we were developing and when we were truly adolescents and teenagers, that because we were on substances, for us back then it was Cokes and chocolate in the form of caffeine,
Yep.
and then we moved on to other things. But I really do believe that that suppressed our emotions, but it also caused all kinds of other chaos in the body because of what the drug does. But it did suppress emotions as well, and just kept those learned behaviors from childhood, maybe 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 years old, from our caregiver, whoever that was. For me, it was my mom and dad, and just, aunts, uncles, people just having their own, I believe, dysregulated nervous system. So they're always kind of stressed and going through their own thing. So it's not their fault, but we start to develop our own coping skill, like our own what are we calling it? Personal protection, our own protection coping. Then we start consuming the substances, everything kind of gets stuck. Our brains are developing until we're, late 20s. And so now that we're free, we are now rewiring and unraveling all those old behaviors and patterns. We're coming back to our most authentic self. So I had been feeling really good. I'm outside working in my garage, cleaning, organizing, working on the plants and doing a bunch of refresh with, like, I like to take the because we have a lot of pots, and so I like to take the roots out. I do it like every 2 or 3 years, put in new dirt, let the roots grow, and just kind of get rid of all the old, leaves and stuff that are. So just having a really good time with that. Really good time. I'm feeling really good. Well, then my neighbor,
Yay.
he's sober from everything except for caffeine. And we have kind of gotten into it before because I was telling him, I wasn't shoving anything down his throat, but he was kind of picking on me. He has this behavior where he'll kind of, push boundaries, but I can definitely tell he's a lot better since a lot more calm, um, willing to, just accommodate and be nicer because he has his own personality too. And I just don't take much offense to it anymore, but it's still kind of, pops through him being kind of, like to pick on you or whatever. And that doesn't bother me. But he, says things, feels his way about certain stuff. And so with the caffeine, he was kind of giving me a hard time, like, come on, Mandy, caffeine is not a drug, like most people do. Like, we're going to encounter that
Yeah.
most of our life, especially if we talk about it now. I believe once we become more recovered and we're just living our lives, we're really not going to be sensitive to it. We're really not going to feel like we have to fix everybody. That's a coping skill. Like that was part of my codependency. That's what I felt like I was very aware and hyper aware of people's feelings. And I think that was from my childhood. So like if my mom would, sigh, oh, is that me? Did I do that? Did I do something to irritate her? So I know that's from my childhood. And what I've learned now is like that has nothing to do with us, but for so many years, I thought that was about me.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably common sense that it's not, and I know that I'm aware that it wasn't, but I felt super hyper aware that it was about me. And I'd had people tell me, oh, you're all about you only think about you. And it's not that we're selfish. It's just that we are living in the back of that part of the reptile brain. What is it called?
Yeah,
You're
so
really good
lizard,
at that.
brain.
Yeah. And not,
Oh my
it's just
goodness,
me on the
now
screen.
your screen did disappear. Maybe try to click the link.
I see a big photo of me. It was just me. Did you cut out for a little while?
No, I see only me. Okay.
Yeah, I was seeing just me. I was
now
like,
you are back. Sorry.
Okay.
So,
I need to look at you
sorry.
too. I don't know. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I didn't know if you like completely went. How many viewers are right now?
We have 4, and then Mandy, I have
Hi,
this
everybody.
new voice stuff. So I can put some claps and like Yahoo. So
Oh yeah. Oh, that's cool. Do it. Who else here today? Has anybody said anything yet?
no.
Okay. Hey everybody.
There's one.
There's one.
Okay.
This is echoing so bad. But Svea is there. So hi.
But it doesn't echo when I talk?
No.
Okay. And I'm just going to tell this story, and I'm kind of long-winded, and I go in and out of the addiction stuff, the behavioral changes for protection. So that people-pleasing and stuff was the protection part. But I do believe that when we start to develop more and more and more, we get rid of that because we don't need it. We become adults. We become mature and secure. And we just kind of realize, oh, I don't need to be a parent pleaser, a people pleaser. But if we are on substances, we don't really mature. We develop in ways of like being street smart and, certain types of coping skills like that and survival skills like that. But we don't really develop when it comes to like critical thinking. And there's things that just don't develop properly if we're on substances. And so, yeah, I'm going to go back and forth with that while I'm telling the story because it all ties together. All of it. It's so cool. But, so back, years ago, he would kind of say, because I've been 4 years, 7.5 months free, and he's 2 years free of his substances. But again, he was always drinking Coke, eating a lot of chocolate, and now he's even drinking a lot of coffee. Like he's moved to coffee because we know how it works when caffeine is needed. So he would always just kind of pick on me. And again, most people in our lives are going to pick. Yeah, that's what I was saying, that I think with the further we recover, we're not really going to need to save the world. We're not really going to need to tell everybody how awful caffeine is. They can just, because it doesn't matter. We would never be able to get someone off of caffeine anyway, I don't think. They have to kind of either fall off the mountain or really, really want to get off of it. But we can't just say, oh, yeah, this is what happened to me. And this is what caffeine does. Read Caffeine Blues. Like I was telling a lady about Caffeine Blues one time, and she thought I was saying caffeine. Well, not blues. She thought I was saying caffeine. It was so funny. I forget. And I was just like, no, Caffeine Blues by Stephen Chernisky. It was written in 98 and blah, 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 blah. What did she think I said? It was funny. It was not blues. And I was like, no. But anyway, so, we could try to save the world and shove all that information. And maybe caffeine's not affecting everybody like it was affecting us. I mean, I know that it is, but everyone is affected differently, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the point. So he was kind of, and he was getting defensive because I was saying it is a drug. And he was like, whatever. And he's like, so I'm not off drugs. He was getting really defensive then. This was like a year or two ago. He's like, so I'm not off drugs. I'm not doing. I'm like, whoa, like you're attacking me, you're getting defensive, you're deflecting. And I just had to come from a place of I don't need to try to shove any information down his throat, even when he was just kind of asking me questions. So the same thing happened yesterday. But what I had done in the meantime is I really started to come from a place of setting boundaries with him, not putting myself in situations with him that would make me feel uncomfortable. If he wanted to attack me or talk to me a certain way. And then I just think, the saying, we teach people how to treat us. But it wasn't even just that. I just think that I'm naturally growing and developing and maturing. So we might think that, oh, someone's being different, someone's treating us differently. When again, if we look at it that way, that's just the same way as us saying they're treating us bad. So if we start saying, oh, they're treating us better, it's really not the way, because they're just doing their thing no matter what. It's how they're reacting to how we've grown. Our nervous system's calming down. We're starting to put ourselves first. We're starting to have that maturity and that energy. I think it just kind of shines through. So yeah, they might be treating us differently and better and more in a respectful way, but it's because of us, not because they just decided to treat us differently.
Yeah.
So, I've been setting those boundaries because back in the day when he was on all his things and I was drinking alcohol and all this caffeine, we'd go to the big store, the Walmart here. We'd go look for dirt or plants, and he would play his music really loud, and he would just act, because he was on his things or whatever. And I would just go with him, even though it would make me, he would play the music really loud. And I would always feel, because I hadn't fallen off the mountain at that time, but I would always feel just very nervous hanging out with him. But yet I would do it. Like I would still put myself in those situations. And so, everything happened. And then I couldn't really function. I couldn't really leave the house. I couldn't be spontaneous. I couldn't really go and do things. And he would always say, like, you don't hang out with me anymore. Well, first of all, I couldn't. Second of all, I really needed to set those boundaries. But the other day I had went to the grocery store, it's like a week ago, and I was just feeling really good. I got back, I was putting all my groceries up, and my husband, he got a new electric bike, and he was building his bike. So he had the garage door open, and I come out there, and my neighbor is driving to one of his meetings, and he goes, hey, you want to go? And I was like, and I just had my phone and had my purse or anything. He's like, you want to go to a meeting with me? And I was like, you know what? And I just jumped in the car with him and we took off, and he was so excited. He's like, you're like old spontaneous Mandy. And the reason why I thought about it for like 2 seconds, I just kind of wanted to see what it would feel like to be out and about with him, to go to an NA meeting, just to kind of see where I was at with like my nervous system and my anxiety. And so we got there early. I helped him set up. People started coming in to the meeting. Everything was great, one-on-one. It was great. I was talking to this lady, Mary. Is anybody in the chat while I'm going on?
6.
Has anybody said anything?
Can you talk about cocaine?
Oh, okay. It's a drug. It's a stimulant. It will, it'll raise that dopamine right up. And if it affects your nervous system in a way, I mean, you could have a long withdrawal from it. But what do you want to know about, what do you want to hear about cocaine? All drugs, meth, cocaine, caffeine, there's different classes of drugs, but those are all stimulants. Nicotine is a dual drug. It's a stimulant. It's the only stimulant and depressant. Yep. Alcohol is a depressant, but it kind of sometimes acts as a stimulant. There's what are they called? Antipsychotics. There's hallucinogens. But what do you want to know about the cocaine?
Let's see.
And I'll remember where I was talking about Mary.
Yeah.
Isn't that a movie?
We're gonna go a little bit background music before
something about Mary. Are we gonna do some background music?
Yeah, a little bit. Okay. But
I don't hear.
I just have fun with this new machine, and because I'm echoing, I cannot really speak anything today. So
right. Okay, yeah. And you know me, I can just talk. So
please do. I will be the voice bank.
Yeah, I love it. Mm-hmm. And so if they talk about, if they're in the chat, just tell me. I'll stop. But about the cocaine or whatever. So Mary, she sits to my right. She's an older lady, and she's just kind of like, "Oh, you're new," and I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "I kind of have a special story because I do feel like I have a special story with caffeine." First of all, everyone there, because I even made the coffee because we set the chairs up and everything, and I did the coffee pot. I mean, I used to do it all the time when I
There
worked
is
at restaurants.
question.
Yeah.
I'm in college and it feels almost impossible to quit right now. Any tips?
Yeah. To quit coffee or cocaine?
Coffee, for sure. Maybe that one.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was the cocaine person. Do you want me to try to see if I can pull up my YouTube so I can read the questions so it doesn't echo when you read it out loud? And just about quitting the coffee. I mean, that's amazing.
Just put the voice out from the YouTube so you can read the messages.
Right. Let me get this up.
Good job, team.
But about just wanting to quit the coffee, first of all, or the caffeine, that's amazing. I know it's hard. But let's see if I can do two things at once. Yeah, to wean. I mean, if this person that said that, if they've read Caffeine Blues, there is a weaning protocol. I just think any drug we should wean off of because it could shock the system.
Yes.
And it's just going to be hard. I mean, my husband's trying to cut down with drinking, and he was diagnosed with ADHD, which I think that comes from a stress response. I don't think we're born, and that's the whole point of this topic. Like, is addiction a disease? Things like ADHD, are we born that way? Are we born with this addiction? And I just don't believe. It's my opinion, my theory, our belief. Annie and I have the same, that it's not. It's a stress response from childhood, that dopamine, we talked about that the other day. And so like even my husband, he got put on ADHD medication, on Ritalin, at like 6, 7 years old. I mean, the brain is still developing till 20 something. That's going to suppress emotions and cause other crap. That is not the answer. Let me try to get up our.
I wish this wouldn't echo, but it does so
I know.
bad.
We always have some type of something. Yeah. Cause other crap. That is not the answer. I need to lose 10 pounds, but I'm okay. I'm looking at my other reflection. I'm good. I'm glad I've gained a little weight. But it'll all level out. Okay. So even if I have it on pause, I can still see the chat, right?
Yeah.
It'll keep coming up. Okay. I'm in college and it feels right. Any tips? Oh yeah, especially college. So I went back to school at 41 and I just turned 42 and I just graduated last May. And it's like, I feel like college is so designed to stress us. And then we need to stay up late and study. And I think with college, and Juan, you're probably younger.
Can you see the chat seconds?
Yeah. Okay. But I would just say that prioritize your sleep and prioritize everything. The problem is that the workload I have and the level accuracy have to have. I almost quit before, but my grades dropped a bit. I'll fully quit once I graduate. How long do you have till graduation? But that's true. It's like we get this workload, we get these expectations that we have to do it this certain way, or we're going to fail. Like you have to make an A, or you have to make a B, or it's like all these like requirements that, is it really that necessary for our stress and to put drugs in our body? And I get it. I get that you need it now, or you feel like you do. And that's what sucks. It's like you will struggle most likely if you try to give it up. Like you noticed how you tried to wean it off. And that's what's so, when I first quit, I was not on it. I was working, but it took me 8 months to being free to go back to school. And it was still hard. But I couldn't imagine, having kids, having a full-time career type job where it was completely, I was the breadwinner, or having, being right in the middle of school. Like, cause when I did have my big wave, I was halfway through with school and it was so hard. I made my only B+ cause it was hard. And but I was already in withdrawal and I went through a big wave of healing symptoms, but Yeah, so I just think one, having that mindset that you do want to quit and you're so aware of this now. Thank you for your help. One more year before I graduate. Awesome. I just think it's
Yay.
so cool that you have this awareness and that you want to quit. Like that is, and, you know, all caffeine, you know, chocolate, everything. Like, but just wean when you are ready. Wean for sure. And my favorite saying is, "When you're ready, you will." And you're already ready, but you just have to. But sometimes the other way I look at it too is that then you'll get a job and then you'll be like, well, I can't quit now because I have to work. And like, there's always kind of, but I get it. I get what, I just think it's so cool that you are aware of this. You're probably in your 20s, early 20s. So no matter where you are in your age, but that's super cool.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so they never responded about the cocaine. That's funny.
Cool.
Okay. So yeah. And if anybody has any questions or anything, but, because I'm just going to start talking again. So Mayor, tell my little story time. So Mary, I'm sitting next to her and I'm explaining to her, I said, well, I said, I quit caffeine for my hormones, for my PMS. That's originally why I wanted to cut it down. And I just kept going to green tea. And I just explained everything really briefly to her. And then she's like, well, yeah. She's like, because I really want to quit. But every time I said, so why? I asked her, I was like, so why? And then again, me going to this thing was kind of like an experiment for me. I don't need to go to meetings. I don't feel like it. Like this kind of interaction is, you know, my support or has been my support. But, oh, when I hear my husband, he might be needing to come up. But, hey, Matt, I'm on a video. Just letting you know. Oh, y'all heard that. Okay, this is interesting. Juan said he fell off the mountain. What? So you have the really high panic attack type anxiety with. Okay, now that you have your headphones off, Annie, I can hear the echo with me. Is that better? Yeah. So, yeah, okay, so like do you have debility? I mean, can you go into school? Can you go into campus? Because I couldn't when I fell off the mountain. I had no dopamine. I didn't have no dopamine, but I just I couldn't, like, I just couldn't, I didn't want to. It didn't mean anything first. Like, I was so low, like, no, ugh, it was so bad. Because I had felt terrible before on caffeine. I had really bad PMS. Talk about that all the time. I had really bad hormone issues about 12 days before I'd start my cycle, being a female. But I was functional. I could work out. I could work. I would just have these things. Oh, lady, wow. Well, you're so sweet. Yuppie Star, you both. Wonderful and strong women. Oh my goodness. Boys. Listen to you. I understand my situation much better. That's wonderful. That's why we're here, you know, that support. And that's the thing. Like, you know, I'm talking about my neighbor right now, and I'm not trying to bitch. I'm just trying to tell a story because I have a point at the end, but it's like there's so many people that don't understand this journey, but then there's people that do, you know, and that's what matters. There might not be a lot of us, but, and I just think that a lot of people that are consuming caffeine don't really understand that they are being affected if they feel like they've fallen off the mountain or not. And I'm not saying that one did or not. I don't know how you feel, but I just know it was a struggle even on substances. And then because of the high anxiety, mild, moderate anxiety that I had on caffeine, that's why I drank, and I drank a lot. 2 or 3 days a week. I wasn't an everyday drinker, but, and especially around my cycle. And I would want, you know, ice cream and chocolate and during that time. So yeah, but no, you're a blessing, and I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad that we can connect and relate to you to help you. Because that's how it goes, you know, you pay it forward until you're busy and living life, and then you do or you don't. Like, maybe this becomes your job. Maybe you can become a counselor. I mean, I got my bachelor's degree in health promotion and minor in psychology because of this. I force myself to go to school, but I feel anxious, puffy, do leave class abruptly sometimes. For our responses, I feel motivated. Yay. Yeah. It's hard. I get it. I would feel that way too. I mean, I would be so sweaty. Like I'd be going into classes or work or when I was having my moments. Cause sometimes, we have better days and hey Mandy, hi. Hope you're well. Came to say hi and let you know that today was first working day and it went well. Yay. That's so good when we put ourselves out there and then it goes well. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Like we keep trying. That's awesome. So good. But yeah, I get it, Juan. It's caffeine is affecting you and you know that. Like that's what's so cool that you know that it is. I didn't all those years. I didn't. I really didn't. I just thought that that's the way that I was. Amazing. Amazing. Really good. Okay, so about Mary. So I'm telling her, about caffeine because she was curious. And then everybody talks in the meeting. I talk, and I just said, I said, I'm glad. That's a good point. Everyone introduced themselves as, hi, I'm so-and-so addict, so-and-so addict. Everybody was addict all the way down. There was about 17 to 20 people in there. And so when I came around to me, I said, hi, I'm Mandy and I'm recovering because I am. And recovery to me means us coming back to our most authentic self. Because at first recovery meant, I'm quitting drugs, I'm quitting drugs and getting off drugs and rewiring, which is true. But then I learned from Gabor Mate that recovery means coming back to your most authentic self, which aligns with what I was talking about earlier, how we learned certain coping and certain protection behaviors in childhood. And we literally couldn't be our most authentic self with that. And then we start doing the drugs, and then that keeps everything stuck and suppressed. Plus, it does its own funky stuff to the nervous system and to the adrenals and everything. That's why all that information is so important. But yeah, so I'm talking to Mary. Okay, I start to do my little talk, and I'm in my head a little bit. And then we did this 10-minute meditation, and that was really nice. And so I also said, "So hi, I'm Mandy. I'm recovering because I am, and because I feel like we're always healing, in life. But we also could have the option to talk about the meditation. And I said I really liked it because I was in my head because I knew I was going to speak. And I still had the little bit of that nervous behavior, not bad, but I was kind of in my head like, oh, what am I going to talk about and blah, blah, blah. But what I really loved is that when I first quit everything and didn't really know what was going on with me, because I quit alcohol, caffeine, everything, I would go to some AA meetings. And I was so much anxiety. It was awful. It was so bad. So the comparison from now to then was so different. And even people that have not fallen off the mountain don't have really bad anxiety. They even get a little bit nervous with public speaking and stuff. And I think that I think once we teach our brain, oh, we're safe. But I think if you're putting tons of caffeine that's causing all those stress hormones to spike all the time, your body just never really naturally feels safe. And so you're just going in that vicious, continuous cycle, thinking that, something's wrong when it's just the stress hormones pumping through your body because of the caffeine. But I think that when you're off and you're free, that's why you might feel like, oh no, I'm still nervous when I go out and about, even though I've been going through recovery for so long. It's like, no, that's when we teach our brain that it's a safe and it's okay. And then by practicing the speaking, public speaking, we get more and more used to it. It almost becomes kind of exciting. So yeah, I put in a little bit of tidbit of information about the meditation and how, sometimes people say, take in a deep breath and that's what helps you relax. But it's really, and I learned this throughout this process, it's really about the breath out. So yeah, you got to take a deep breath in to take a breath out. But what the breath out does, that activates the parasympathetic part of the nervous system. And that's what keeps us calm. Oh, dang, honey, it's me here. Change my name. Oh yeah, I was wondering. I thought that was you. Change my name here because someone started bullying me and following me here. It's a horrible message every day. Terrible. People are just so silly. People need, they probably have, I'm sure they have childhood trauma and they need that attention. and then they want to bully people. And then that's when we have to set our boundaries like you did and you blocked them. So it's wonderful. Yeah. And that's why walking with Jesus, Ani, is not speaking because of her echo. So she says, hello. I'm wonderful about your job. I know she's thinking that too. So it's so cool. Yes, I will do the speaking. So yeah, that's just really cool about little tidbits like that about the nervous system and taking the breath in, the breath out, and how it activates. Because every little help that we need while we're going through this, And in the beginning, I couldn't take in a deep breath or a breath out with it feeling relaxing. I could breathe, obviously, but it did not feel relaxing in the beginning. It was so weird. And now I can take in a deep breath and breathe out, and I can really feel how it's calming me, how it works. And I just think in the beginning of recovery, when we quit, and if we are going through nervous system dysregulation, wiring that the body's like super stressed just from quitting, that we're just going to feel so off and things aren't working and everything's confusing, but it's just, I know it's so awful, but it really is part of it. I thank you for channeling. Svea, you didn't talk about, you wanted to know more about cocaine. But I guess I was like, it's a stimulant, blah, blah, blah. Do you think you're shadow banned? Shake yes or no.
The shadow.
Huh?
What is shadow ban?
I don't really know. But probably like they're sensing it, probably like they're not promoting your channel to even people that are your they're probably not promoting your channel to viewers.
I am.
Right. They're not promoting you to people that aren't on your feed already and not liking your subscribed. And then the people that are subscribed, they're not even putting it out there.
I think so.
Because we're talking truth. And maybe a little bit about the serum stuff. I was joking about cocaine. I'm just fiending the caffeine and nicotine. Well, that's good that you have your sense of humor. I love it. There's one funny thing I like to say. Other people say it too. It's funny. So you get notifications about videos. I'm like, oh, that's so good. Yes, Manny. That's what it means. Yeah, that's smart. That's to go to the Discord. But yeah, other people say it too. So like when people talk about, oh, I don't consume that much caffeine. I only drink a little. Because that's what that lady Mary was saying. So back to Mary, she was like, yeah, I don't really consume that much. But that's one of my favorite sayings. Like, oh yeah, I only do cocaine on the weekends. I only do it. I only do a little bump every now and then. Not that I do, but it's like my joke of the equivalent to I only drink a little caffeine, so it's not affecting me. Is addicted to caffeine, about 500 milligrams a day. Can you give me tips out her getting mad at me? Oh, I know. I would just suggest to give her the book Caffeine Blues. I found the book way later and tell her to read chapter 6. And what I really know about this is like, yeah, that's going to help her. You care about her, but we cannot fix or change people. Like I'm such a codependent, or I was. That's something that I'm recovering from. I don't think being codependent is my real, true, authentic self. It was learned because I don't like it. I saw that with my best friend the other day. She's going through some problems with her marriage, and oh, my codependency kicked in because I can now. So that's another thing I was saying in that meeting. It's like I can do all these things again because I didn't have the capacity to focus on anyone else's drama or petty stuff. I just didn't. Like when somebody would talk to me, the only thing I could focus on was how I felt. And symptoms. I just couldn't. And so now I can. And so I'm just kind of in that pattern that we used to be in, because her and I've been friends 25 years, and I'm in that pattern of, talking about the things and the dramas and the traumas and that's a vicious cycle. But I'm trying to also kind of lean her away from that a little bit. But I do see where I get caught up with that old pattern. And that's something that's so important. That's the main thing I want to talk about, is that when we are recovering and rewiring, it's like, why do I still have these behaviors? And we just have to have that compassion for ourselves. It's so important that until those behaviors unravel, they're going to kind of still pop up sometimes. And that is okay to not beat ourselves up. She doesn't read much and her English is very off. I don't know what to do. Yes. Hello, Santa Cruz. Mountains and wildlife trails. Oh, that sounds nice. Yeah, but again, you can just kind of plant a seed with your girlfriend. I'm on Discord channel. Yeah. You can plant a seed, but she has to do it, You can just try to tell her information that it's, especially for women, what it does with like PMS and stuff. But I get it. I want things to a certain way with my relationship. Sometimes we got to meet them where we're at. And then if, we just have to set those boundaries for ourselves if it's not good for us. But it sounds like y'all are. But I get it.
Good job, team. Good job, team.
Who's Nick? I don't know. Okay. So this lady, Mary, one thing that was really interesting. So again, I kind of did this. I went to this meeting. It was spontaneous. It was kind of like research. I wanted to kind of see how I felt. So I asked Mary, I said, well, why do you want to quit? She told me, well, because I can't wake up in the mornings. I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, it took me like 3.5 years to be able to like really finally get that better. And that still improves. Oh, nickname. Okay. And you're talking to him anyway. Okay. So, or them. Yeah, it was him. Well, could be a same-sex couple. I always feel like I have to be so politically correct. I'm just gonna, that's part of my behavior probably, of like, I have to be so careful what I say, or feel like I have to be so careful what I say. Yeah, no hate, no hate. Okay. It's hard, huh? Reading the comments and then finishing stories. You do some good work there, ma'am, my friend. Okay, but it's good. I feel good. This is fun. See, and I dress up, Valentines. I hope everybody is just, it gets better, guys. It really does. And it's gonna get better than even where Ani and I are. It's so good. And I do still have some stuff around my cycle, emotional stuff, where it makes me just want to like eat bread. But I've been eating really healthy lately. Salads and chicken and beef ragu I make with mushrooms and lots of protein and just kind of balanced. And again, the weight thing I think is important. Maybe it's because some people would say, oh, that's addiction. It'll balance out. And that's something that I can't wait to update about later.
Yes.
So I asked Mary, I said, so yeah, I was like, so why do you consume it then? Because she's like, oh, because, this is what people do. They'll make excuses. I'm like, oh, I don't really consume that much. I don't really like it or whatever. And it's funny how people will get defensive. Almost everyone does that to me. Oh, I don't drink that much. So I make that joke about only do a little on the weekend. If you want to baby and a girl being right. That is something that I have been so about right now, because it does go through the placenta. The caffeine does go through the placenta. Yeah. That's so smart of you. That's so good. I never knew that stuff before. And I'm older. I'm 45, going to be 46 next Thursday. And I think I don't have children. And I know that caffeine was affecting me my whole life, and the alcohol and just my lifestyle. And I believe, even though I'm older, I believe I could get pregnant like pretty quickly, probably, because I still ovulate and all that good stuff. And libido is coming back like a 16-year-old. Is that TMI? I don't care because it's the truth. And I think it's beautiful because for so long, I just lost that connection. I would do things just out of like just what was I saying? Going with emotions, you know, because I could like I just did. She is 20 and I will give her 1 year to clean them out. Okay. Well, that's how you feel. That's good. I mean, I get it. It's so good that you're, and how old are you? She's 20. You're probably around the same age. You're like, I'm 60. I'm just kidding. Does that sound mean if somebody read that? No, I mean, that sounds like you are putting that's what you want out of your life. I think that's really good that you're aware of that at such a young age. I'm assuming you're young. That's so cool. Because I was just a mess on caffeine and alcohol. But that's okay too. People are a mess. 24. Good. Okay, cool. To be 24 again. To be 24 and know what we know now, huh? Honey?
Yeah.
That's how life works. There's a saying, God wasted youth on the young. But we're still young. We're still young. We're still young and we're healthy. We're not young.
Oh.
We're old.
Yeah.
We're old. I feel young. I'm excited to be. I'm happy this happened at least in our 40s and not 60s or 70s. And even people in their 60s and 70s, like how cool is that?
Yeah.
Is that the Swedish flag? I'm kind of.
It is.
Okay. Oh, yay. We should have geography lessons.
Yeah.
And then you can see how smart I am or not. No.
You are.
And you know what's weird? Because we read throughout our whole life. We see things throughout our whole life. Our brain has that memory. But what age did you guys quit? 41. But when we're on caffeine and have such bad anxiety and the brain fog and everything, it's like we're done. But we're not. It's just kind of blocked. I was 41. But I also quit alcohol first. And I tell you what, when I would quit alcohol in the past, it was so hard to stay quit because I never understood about caffeine. And that's kind of my point that I'm getting to about this whole meeting that I went to because they're all on caffeine. And again, that's what I was saying too. I made the coffee that day. Could I have done that 2 or 3 years ago? No. But I don't care. It's like they're going to drink it anyway. I'm not there to tell them to drink it or not. It's not my responsibility. And that was the setup. And I told my friend I'd go, help set up the chairs, help do the coffee. And it did not affect me. It did not bother me. That is so cool. Like I wouldn't have been able to do it. I just would have told him to do it. Or I'd be like, that's really bad. But that's just not my job now. Let's focus on me. And that's another thing too. Svea, is it Svea? Am I saying that right? Or is that like a name?
Svea.
But it is good that you're setting those boundaries with your girlfriend, but we really do. Like if you love her and she's a really good person, to me, like what I'm doing, how I want my husband to quit, because I do, it being 46, almost 46, like I really do feel like I have like a year and a half left to have a baby. And he still drinks and does, smokes and things. But he's cut down significantly, which is huge. But it's like, I want him to quit because I feel like it's his responsibility to being married. But I'm the one that quit. We met. I was doing everything when we met. I'm the one that changed. So that's a tricky thing. It's tricky because we want to be authentic to ourselves, but we can't change people. It's tricky. So yeah, I had made the coffee, didn't care. I know I was saying something else. But I spoke and it was really good. And I felt great about everything going. Not that I'm going to keep going at all, but so that was last week. Everything I'm saying kind of ties in together. Do you have any tips for the sleeping problems and constipation while quitting this poison? Just let your body do its thing. I would have constipation and I would have diarrhea. You want me to get really technical about something? So I had constipation one time and I took a prune, like I did a half of a prune. Oh, don't take a whole one or two. Like I did a half a prune. So let me tell you what happened. Because I just feel like when you're going through something like this, TMI, there's no such thing as TMI. But I started cramping and remember, I'm constipated at the time. So like I was cramping behind the constipation and it would not come out, but I was cramping and it was so freaking awful. And I thought something was wrong. And it all worked itself out, literally. No pun intended. Mandy, you are so right. Quitting caffeine. So some, yes. See, that's why we need to share. We have to share because we don't have to share, but yeah, it's so, it's such a thing. And that's what, talking about these meetings and stuff, these NA meetings and AA meetings, what are most of them doing? They're on caffeine and they're smoking cigarettes and stuff, some of them. And that keeps people in that vicious cycle of needing to go to meetings and it becoming kind of like their life. Is it that way for everybody? No. But I really do think that that's the secret. And that's what my neighbor said. He's like, oh, you just think I'm going to get into that story, but yeah. And then some of my behavior is like when someone talks to me that way, maybe 5 or 10% is like, oh, are they right? Or, oh, do I need to be going to meeting? No. But that's an old behavior of mine. So that's why I always say it's so important to just, if those certain little behaviors still kind of sneak up, it's okay. If you don't want something, a behavior, being free from all substances, it will unravel and you won't have that behavior anymore. If you're talking on it that you don't like that certain thing, if you like it, then keep it. But if it doesn't work for you, but it's still kind of there and still kind of sneaks up depending on who you're talking to and who you're interacting with, nothing's wrong with you. It's just unraveling. Like you're going to get tired of it. It's just going to take time to unravel. And I kind of struggle with that. Like, why? I have all this information. Why am I still being triggered? Why is it still bothering me? Okay, so I'm in the meeting. Okay, yeah. So fast forward to yesterday. So he's like, I'm sweeping and I'm just I'm having a good old day and I'm outside and I'm really feeling good. My heart's beating strong and it doesn't feel weird. I'm not getting dizzy. I just feel. And another thing too that I find interesting is that my motivation, even on substances, I had to have caffeine and alcohol. Like to clean, I had to get my 6-pack and I would put a beer I had like my little routine. So I'd already had 2 big coffees for the day or energy drinks or whatever. And then if I cleaned, I would get a 6-pack of my favorite beer and I would put one in the freezer and I'd put the rest in the fridge. And then I would take the one out of the freezer, drink it while I'm cleaning, and then I'd put another one. And then as I take that one, I'd put the other one in. So I'd always have one really, really cold one. And man, I could just clean and I felt motivated. And then it took me, 3.5, 4 years. And I would have my moments. I would have my windows where I would clean or do something. But lately, kind of just like when I get ready to go somewhere, that always felt like a chore. Now I get ready early. Getting ready is part of the thing that I'm doing. So if I'm going somewhere, before getting ready was like a drag, it was a chore. Oh my God, I got to get ready. I would do last minute. Now, if I have to go somewhere, I start getting ready early and I'm just like, what? Like never in my life. It's like exciting. It's part of it. Like getting ready is actually part of the experience of doing the thing. And so same thing with organizing or cleaning. It just feels so pleasurable and good. And I feel strong doing it. Like I was sweeping up something. I was like, I could do this all day. When before I'd be like, oh gosh, I need more caffeine, I need more alcohol. So that's really cool. So I'm in the process of just doing the thing that feels really good. I'm just kind of playing around outside and feeling really good doing it. And he starts to, because he has this behavior because he's on caffeine. I know it. I see it. Yes, he's calmed down a lot because he's on the harder drugs, the illegal drugs. But he starts to and he kind of has this sass, this attitude. So it's kind of just like, it's just part of his personality probably too. But I also see it's probably, he's just venting because he's on caffeine. But he's like, the UPS driver, why do they have to, put the mail over there. What does my address say? My address is this. Da, 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 da. And then he had it over here by the trash can. And I was just like, yep. I was like, oh, those people are silly. Those people are, those people are goofy or whatever, just trying to kind of ignore it. I cope with drinking more, quitting. Right. I cope with drinking more. Okay. See, when I would quit alcohol, I would up my caffeine. But yeah, and you haven't fallen off the mountain most likely. So your brain is craving some dopamine, however it can get it. But it will rewire. That's why people might say like, oh, right now, oh, I'm a bread addict. Well, first of all, I'm not eating it when I'm not around my cycle. And second of all, question for Mandy, did you ever get your cortisol check blood test? I did. And it was a spit one, and I put it all in, and it was probably like 4 months. I don't think I did it right. I was very dehydrated. There was all these bubbles in it, but it wasn't like super off or anything. I mean, it was, but it's just all rewiring. It's going to go up and down at different times. Even though it was a 4-point test with the saliva. Yeah, that was so long ago. That was over 4 years ago. It just naturally slowly gets better. Everything just starts to balance. Can you say the result? Yeah, I mean, I can look for it, but it was, I just don't think it was very accurate, if that makes sense. Kind of like blood work. It's kind of like a snapshot. Very high cortisol. Afraid it is a tumor. Right. So yeah, we start to get worried about tumors and cancer. But so how do you know you have high cortisol? Have you been tested? Because we're going to have it. When you have the stress hormones, it's going to pop off cortisol and adrenaline. But so yeah, he's, venting, and then and then I'm kind of, trying to be like, oh, they're just silly, and just kind of playing it off. But then he keeps going. And then I said, oh, let's just take deep breaths. Let's just take a deep breath. And he was like, fuck your deep breath. And I'm like, okay. But he's kind of picking, because that is part of his personality. So I don't take it personal. I did blood tests. Okay, wow. So you did blood tests or the saliva? Blood. You said it, blood. It was extremely high above the normal range scale. And you are still on caffeine, right? But you want to wean down, or you're off? I forget. I know you said your girlfriend. But you were saying earlier that, oh, that's why you made the joke about cocaine, because you really want caffeine. So you are free. How long have you been free? And you're off all forms. It was extremely high. But don't worry about it. You don't have a tumor. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I can't say that. I can't say you don't have a tumor, but you probably don't. It's I don't know your story too well, but seems like you've quit. When we quit, it puts our body under a lot of stress. That's what we're recovering. A lot of that recovery is part of that rewiring. That the body, we talk about this, we have videos about it, about the body being in allostasis on substances. And then when we quit, it's trying to go back to homeostasis, and it's stressed. The body is stressed. And that looks really tricky. People think like, oh, what's wrong with me? When it's just the rewiring. It's just the body literally adapts. The body literally thinks it needs it to survive being on substances. So even though it's like the unleaded version, we're not optimal when we're on substances. It literally rewires to think we need it. Then when we quit, it's like, what the hell? We adapted to that drug, because it's all like about the neurotransmitters and the dopamine. I have been fighting on and off since summer. Last caffeine was Sunday, but usually I go a few weeks and then fall back. Yeah, longest I've gone is 1.5. Yeah, you just got to keep going. But it's good that you're trying. But I made my mind up. I hate this poison. Can I just say again, the awareness that that it's a poison, that it's a toxin, at 24 years old, how amazing that is. So just keep it up. I know it's hard, but you just got to keep going. The brain will do anything. It'll lie, say you need it. It'll make up things. The anxiety, the depression, all of it's part of the rewiring. And because again, it thinks it needs it to survive. So it's going to do anything to try to get you back on it. But as long as you keep staying free, it will rewire to back to balance, back to homeostasis, and then your brain starts making all the dopamine naturally, and there's all this science behind it, but that we talk about in other videos. But that's so wonderful that you know. It really is cool. Okay, so he was venting. Oh yeah, so he has his kind of personality that didn't really bother me. He's just kind of like, whatever. And then he goes, "Hey, Mary was asking about you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "How's she doing?" He's like, "She wanted to know why you didn't come to a meeting." Like, it's like, oh gosh, now he thinks I'm gonna start going to meetings. And I'm like, "I'm not doing meetings." And he's like, "Well, why? Don't you want to go because you crave and like you need to go?" And I'm like, "I honestly don't crave. I'm recovering from anxiety. I'm recovering from nervous system dysregulation. Like, I know what drugs do. I never will go back no matter what. I'm too aware. I have too much information. Look what happened. Um, how awesome it is to be free. Look at what caffeine was doing to me my whole life with the hormones and the sleep problems and just needing the alcohol. Like, no. And I really think it takes being free from caffeine to kind of really understand the whole thing. And he got mad because I wasn't being sassy. He's the one that brought it all up. Again, I didn't come knocking down his door to tell him whatever. He kind of said, "Mary was asking about you, and then I did say, "Oh yeah, I told her," because I told her about caffeine blues, but I also told her, and this is part of my old behavior, it kind of just came out. I was like, "Oh, I have the book and I can give you the book." But really, I don't want to have that responsibility to come back up there, give her the book. But it came out. And so again, I have to be compassionate with myself that that's okay that behavior slipped. Because it's like, when you meet people, you want to be so nice, for me anyway. And it's like, I don't need to be that nice. I'm nice anyway. I don't need to like go above and beyond to be even more nice. And so as he said that, I was like, "Oh yeah, I told her I'd give her the book," but she wrote it down. I wrote the author's name down. She can get it herself, whatever. And the fact that she asked about me, and here's another thing too. She's 37 years going to these meetings. She's 37 years free from her drug of choice, but she still consumes caffeine. And that's why she still goes to meetings. I'm sure of it. Like, okay, yeah, maybe it's community and that's really great, but we can find other ways to community. So I am gonna get to the point of his addiction, a disease. But so then he goes, "So you don't feel like you need to go to meetings?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, why?" Oh. And so then he goes, "Oh, so you just got it all figured out. You just got it all figured out." And I'm like, "Oh my God." So I like turn my back. I'm like, "Oh my God." I was like, "You're deflecting, this is all you. Like, this is how you're feeling." But again, like I'm a little bit in my head, like, "Oh God, how do I handle this?" He's kind of not bullying, but he's just so insecure about it because even before years ago when he was like, "Oh, so I'm not off all drugs because I consume caffeine." I'm like, "Well, technically you're not because it literally is a freaking drug." Like, so again, yesterday he was like, "Oh, so you just have it all figured out." And deep down I'm going, I kind of do. Like we kind of do. Like it is affecting us that bad. And then it keeps that stress cycle going to where you need other drugs to calm the freak down. And there you're going to have to keep going to meetings because you're going to keep being stressed. Grace, peace, joy. This night. Oh, yeah. See, and I'm even getting kind of hyper. Thank you. That kind of calmed me down. But I just think there is a good story to the end because so then I did have another behavior. And then he goes, "So you don't," he goes, "So you don't think that you're an addict?" And I was like, "I don't." And he got mad again. He's like, "Oh, you're paranoid." And I'm like, "I don't." And he goes, "So you don't think that," and he asked the question. I didn't say it. He goes, "So you don't think it's a disease?" And I said, "I don't." I go, "Oh, I definitely no." And I got really stern. I was like, "Oh, hell no. Like, I definitely don't think it's a disease." And he was so mad. He was so mad. And then he goes, "Mandy," and then so he started attacking me and he goes, "Mandy, you're smarter than this." He goes, I thought you were smarter than this." He goes, "All these people that go to these meetings and it's um, millions of people that it works for, and you're going to sit there and say that it's not what it is." He's like, "I thought you were smarter than that." Oh, I definitely don't speak Swedish. No, I know you. I know you. And here's the thing, like, as I'm telling this story, it does kind of upset me in a sense that it does trigger me, but it's great you can quit. Yeah. And I honestly would probably still be consuming caffeine if I didn't fall off the mountain, if I didn't get the really bad nervous system dysregulation, anxiety, which it's been such a blessing. But it's so challenging. But so is being on substances was challenging. So it's just kind of cool it happened the way it happened for both of us. And Ani and I found each other and we're very similar. We had very similar upbringings, even though we're from two completely different parts of the world. And so that's just been such a blessing too, for both of us. And yeah, so we're so grateful. This has been such a not a cuckoo journey, but it really is beautiful. We always say that. Like it's so freaking hard, but life is hard. This has been there's people that go through this and they say that this was the hardest thing they've ever been through. But yet you come out the other side and you feel blessed. You feel like it's the best experience. You're so grateful. You're so thankful to be free. You're so thankful to have the clarity, but then some of the hardest parts in recovery, the challenging, I'll say challenging, but what is that? What is something that's challenging? It's an opportunity for growth. And so that's I know I sound kind of worked up, but that is what I love going through stuff like this. What happened yesterday with my neighbor is that even though it was a little bit stressful or kind of my old patterns, it's like, wait a minute. If I would have gotten really upset about it before, and I would have let it get me upset. I would have went and drank, or I would have went and had more caffeine, or I would have went and got cigarettes, or whatever, or all three. And so being free every single day, we are rewiring and getting those new pathways. But it's going to be kind of messy as we're recovering. And so it is good to have the community to still be able to talk even about this kind of emotional and rewiring stuff as everything's just naturally playing out, because the brain does naturally do it. I do believe that too. You quit, keep fighting. Does that help? Yes, absolutely. We're all fighting. We're all doing our best. And even my neighbor, he is doing his best for where he's at. And I told him that because so there's some more stuff that happened, but then he was like, I just got to go. I don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, okay, not meant to live that. Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what for his meetings that he goes to, it helps him. And I wasn't saying that it wasn't helping him, but when he got mad at me for saying that I don't need the meeting, we're all different. Hey guys, oh, where'd it go?
I don't know.
I think it was Multi McCormick.
Yeah.
And then it went away.
Sometimes this happens. I don't know why.
Okay. There is even caffeine and soda. They get kids hooked on this. Yeah. Hello. Yes, I was putting that $1 in the Coke machine at school every day, thinking I was so cool, drinking that soda and those chocolate bars. Lord Jesus Christ and brothers and sisters, who love you honestly. Oh, yes. Yeah, I don't know where that message went. But yeah, so where was I? I've been doing pretty good with coming back to where I was, but I know it's very long. I'm already kind of long-winded, and then just finishing the story while reading the chat. It's fine. Yeah. Again, it's fun.
It's good.
There he is. I thought it was Multi McCord. Hey guys, I just been banned from driving for 6 months. Dealing with it well now. No stress from. Cool. Why banned from driving? I'm very detailed. I want to know the details. I don't think I'm nosy. I just want to know. You don't have to tell. But what's the great thing that you're saying about it is that you're not stressed from it. So it's so cool how and see, that's another thing too about this whole thing is that like just like symptoms are going to be, everyone's going to be affected by depression differently or DPDR differently. Not everyone's going to feel the same about symptoms. Not everyone's going to feel the same about certain situations. So if you have an issue with your neighbor or you get your driver's license or your banned from driving for 6 months. Like, drunk drive. No, he's sober. Oh, speeding. Okay. But for 6 months, I guess it's different in different areas of the world, huh? Or maybe you have multiple. But that's fine. That's good. But the point is, different life situations are going to stress people in different ways. So even like with the symptoms might look differently in the beginning, certain situations are going to look different, like in this part, when you're going through like the emotional or you're just learning how to navigate life again. You've come out of the coma and you're out and about with people, and maybe one day, and another thing too, maybe one day something doesn't bother you at all and it's just water off a duck's back. And then the other day you're like, oh my gosh, I just really have to vent about this or talk about this or even try to process it in your own mind, or what can I learn from it? And so didn't I say that earlier, that all struggles can be an opportunity for growth? Like, I love that. And that's what I've got from this. And as long as we stay free, we're going to grow in the best way possible. So when he said, and we all get triggered differently. And so when he said, I thought you were smarter than that, triggered me. It's triggered me. And so instead of me just going, okay, whatever, you're deflecting and I'm going to go in and like mind my own business, I started doing the thing I do with trying to tell my part and be detailed. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, look, I said, just like with ADHD. And he was like, ADHD. And I just start going off. But I'm also like in my head going, Mandy, you're doing your thing. Like, just walk away, walk away. And he goes, ADHD? We're not even talking about ADHD. And I was like, no, but if you listen, and he wouldn't listen to me. Mandy, please find the story. Intimate Kingdom. Help you understand the importance and how precious you are. And your sister Oni also. Oh, you are just the sweetest. It's wonderful. Oh, Esther, I know about that. Is that Braxton, not Braxton, Hicks? I know about that. Kind of where we manifest and all that. I kind of in the beginning of my recovery, that always kind of scared me and bothered me about that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's sweet. You're just very sweet and positive. Thank you. How do you guys cope with having to work and stuff while quitting? I completely fell off the mountain. I couldn't quit. I couldn't work. I didn't want to. It's not that I just couldn't. I had no dopamine. I didn't want to either. And that's why I went back to school, because I could do it online. And I had my hard days. Neither one of us could work. We couldn't even go to the store. We couldn't leave our house sometimes. Sometimes we could, sometimes we couldn't. Nothing made sense. I have an analogy. If you would have handed us $1 million, we didn't. So that's the thing I'm talking about with the dopamine. Not only could we not physically do it, we didn't want to. Nothing was matter. Nothing cared. I would say things like, what is life for? And why are we here? I mean, just complete drug withdrawal, like complete no dopamine. Similar. So that's from the Bible. That's a part of the Bible. And Kush, are you free from all mind-altering substances, even caffeine? You sound very positive. That's really wonderful. Everybody's been so positive and sweet in the messages. Yeah. Which is important, but even if somebody wasn't, and what's the word? Lord Jesus Christ, save me from alcoholism, and also it's wonderful. What was I saying? We just yeah. We're all led down the path that I think we're supposed to be. We need to be more negative. Yeah, so about positive and negative. I was saying something. I just think that well, we've talked about this many times, when we are in a more regulated, when we're more in our parasympathetic part of the nervous system, we're just more positive. And that's why, me telling this story, I might seem like I'm upset. It's not that. It's just, I think it's so important to understand when we are going through this, old behaviors are going to pop up. Decaf. Very cool. There is still caffeine in decaf. But no, that's good. That's wonderful that you're free from alcohol. And you seem to be very good. Can you guys talk about intimacy before and after? Yes. I could talk a lot about that. Should I talk about that now, or should I finish this long-winded story? Okay, I'll just talk about it. But I'll just pick up where I left off, because when I said he triggered me. Do y'all like my story? Does it matter? Because it does have an ending, I think.
We do.
I mean, it's basically about how I have to understand that these things are going to happen when you're more functional, and that you just don't go back to substances. Like, you don't get frustrated, because that's part of it too. Like, the brain just wants to kind of create extra chaos. It happens in addiction. It happens when you're recovering. He helps me see his glory, and also did. That's wonderful. Okay, so triggered. Okay, so yeah. I think I was kind of talking about that earlier, about intimacy. So when I was a teenager, I was starting to have relations with my boyfriend. And even then, like, I just was I was talking about this earlier, because I was talking about going with the motions. And just, wanting to be loved and wanting love and wanting connection, but never really being libido-y, like having high libido, or the word horny, or whatever. It's always get embarrassing, the word horny. But and then my whole life just being on a stimulant and being on a depressant, being on the caffeine and the alcohol, I was numb. I've talked about this before. Like, even I'm a massage therapist, and I worked on people, but I would also have people work on me. And I would just be like, dig your elbow in my back. Like, I was so numb along my spine, and just needed lots and lots of pressure. And I was also numb in other places. And it would just kind of take a lot of stimulation. Okay. And so and again, with TMI, there is no such thing. It's TMI for me. So even then, all those years just kind of going through the motions, and then quitting, completely lost it. I just didn't have, and that's what we were talking about too, about about no desire for, like, if somebody gave us money, didn't care, but it all comes back. So yeah, that was another thing. No libido, no, just about working, we were talking about that, about we physically couldn't do it. We didn't have the dopamine. So even the same thing with intimacy, it was just like, physically, I couldn't, my heart was just all over the place, and I just felt weak and just, like, fatigued and not excited to do that. So just, like, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it was gone. And so just probably the last year, and again, I'm 4 years, 7.5 months free of everything. When you put on red lipstick, his love and kiss of grace. Oh, you are his child. And I never wear makeup. So that's so sweet you say that to me. Yeah, I just feel like, hey, the God made me this way, and I can enhance some of it if I want to. That's really sweet. So yeah, and where are you from, Kush? I've never seen your name before. Hey, Chris. Ani is not talking because she's getting a lot of interference, a lot of echo. So I'm just telling a story and then kind of doing the chat, which is fun.
I'm talking with voices.
Yeah. See, I don't see it. I just don't see that popping up, but when I rewatch the video, I'll see it. So that's cool. Yeah, you are communicating. We don't always have to, just like with animals, we don't always have to communicate with language. There's different ways to talk, communicate. When you drink decaf, you remind cup things, water. Also, and that's all I drink is water. So yes. And I love water. It's so good. Night and day. It is like night and day. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for getting me back on. But to be clear, how much better is intimacy after quitting? Yes, I wasn't finished. Thank you. I was getting back to it, but you even reminded me. So that's, part of life. I am married, whatever. And you don't have to be married. I don't know why I said that, but, or if that's what you believe. But okay, so it took me like 3.5 years. I'm 4 years, 7.5 months quit, and probably around a year and a half ago. Right. So okay, because here's the thing: for men, they can get women pregnant 24/7. You're getting red. I think I'm getting it. Like I get the red. Am I red?
A little bit.
Kind of like the blood flow and like. So men can impregnate a woman 24/7. Women can only get pregnant around ovulation. So around that time, there's a lot more libido-y stuff. Yeah. Thank you for spreading the word about our dear Lord. Thank you. That's so wonderful. We do. We get caught up in all the things of life, and if we can just take a moment sometimes and give the glory to God, it's wonderful. So, but yeah, it's a little bit of a private thing to talk about, but it's an important thing because we think that maybe it's just the cards we were dealt with all the symptoms, with all the things. And then you quit and you start to come back to yourself and you're like, wow, oh my gosh. And I'm older, almost 46. And like all these things are starting to come back that I've kind of all the joys of life that just kind of got put on hold because of this drug and just all substances really because they numb you. And but yeah, that's what I was talking about, just being numb. And like now when I get massaged, oh, I was doing that. I was massaged. That's why I was red. I was going like that. Oh, I make myself. Um, so now when I get worked on just a little, my husband will work on me for like 2 minutes or whatever. I'm like, oh. When before I had to have a jackhammer, lots of pressure. And now I'm just like super sensitive. That's so funny. I was pressing. Yes, I'm just curious. I need to tell my girlfriend about this. You don't need to share if you don't want. Oh, no. I'm fine. I really kind of am an open book. I don't know if I'll always be that way. Especially, I mean, and here's the thing, like if I'm talking like that and then someone's like a big creepo or something, like that's their problem, that's their thing. Like I can still dress up and be me. And if people, that's what I think is so beautiful when we start learning about this journey of like other people's emotions and their thoughts and their feelings. That's on them. It's all in our control how we how we deal with our own life. But yeah, tell your girlfriend about that. Because the orgasm can be a lot. Yeah. And that's, yeah. I mean, is that TMI on? This video. Hi. How are you doing? Christopher, aren't you like 3.5 years free? Hey, but you're here now. That's what's important. But yeah, it comes back and it's crazy, but I think for a man, you might feel that way every day. For a female, she might only feel that way around ovulation, but I do think with the right type of proper intimacy and feeling safe, she could probably feel higher intimacy, libido-y, maybe more. So that's really cool. And I just think it's so cool how it's natural and it comes back naturally.
Good
Almost
job,
at 3
team.
years. Awesome. So good. Yeah, Chris, you're Chris Inkland, you're exactly a year behind me. I remember that. So there's Chris and there's Christopher. I knew y'all were both kind of close to 3 or over. How did they react? Did you tell your surroundings about your addiction? Well, I mean, everybody kind of always knew. I don't think that anyone thought that I had major problems or they were just in their own But people didn't understand. People didn't understand when I was going through post-acute withdrawal. I let people know, like, I'm very stubborn like that. But then they started seeing that I started improving, and that's what happens, it's like, but we feel like it's our job to let them know. Yes, I will tell you, it's good. Soon, God willing, she will also be safe. Do you feel like you want to marry her? I know that's your own. I'm just curious. So real quick, I got triggered and he said, I thought you were smarter than that. And I was like, so I started talking about the ADHD. And I said, even ADHD, because it's all a stress response. And he didn't understand, what I was talking about. But then I was like, well, you said I didn't have an education. I was like, if we're high adrenaline and we're high cortisol, that stills the dopamine, it stills sex hormones, because it's the adrenaline that stills the dopamine. And with the cortisol, it's the sex hormones. And I was like, and that's why when we're lower dopamine because of the high stress in childhood, possibly, that's when we first have a substance, it makes us feel better because of the dopamine aspect. And then we get addicted and then dependent, possibly. It's not a disease. It's, in my opinion. And Gabor Mate has a lot of good information on that. And so does Tim Fletcher. But Tim Fletcher kind of gets his stuff from Gabor Mate. Okay. Yes, if she quits caffeine, I won't wait a second. So after I was explaining all that to him and he still wasn't getting it, he's like, I just don't want to hear it. I'm like, okay, you don't want to hear it, but yet you're going to tell me all this stuff. But I had to let it go. And he was like trying to go inside. And so I walked away and I said, the most important thing is that you're free from your drugs. And that's wonderful. And then I came inside and I got a text, love you. And I just said, love you too, and then I just I guess the growth that came from it for me was that I really did see more so than ever before how he was deflecting. I think before I would have just been like, oh, I did something wrong. I don't know how to use my voice. I don't know how. And it's not the fact that I don't know how to use my voice. I've never been afraid to say how I feel. It's other people's responses and reactions that would trigger me. But that comes from me needing to just be more confident. That grows. That comes up. That happens. So I just think it's interesting, no matter what we're going through in our life when we're recovering. And again, somebody's neighbor might not trigger them. They might just not even care. They might not, or you might not have this type of old people pleasing. You might be completely different because of your childhood, but you still, for some reason, you might be more an avoidant, or you might lean more, you might lean more one way. I might lean more of another one, but for whatever reason, we still had stress in our lives. And then we still went to substances. It still suppressed everything. But the coolest thing is that we're free and that we're aware, just having that awareness and just knowing that those old behaviors and patterns will go away. Like they will fade, just like the symptoms. And it's awesome. So yeah, that's my story. Just knowing that he was the one that it was him feeling a certain way,
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, I'm in a place now that I sometimes want to now that I've reached a kind of equilibrium, but of course I don't. But I find I have this voice in my head now that just says, just have a single coffee. Okay, so I kind of know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's not like a craving, but it's kind of like if I'm a little bit tired, I might go, like this little voice might go, oh, if you had a coffee, then you want to be tired. But then I've had that on and off. Probably right after my big wave, I started kind of feeling that way. Kind of like I could just kind of sense that it was the addiction talking, like in the form of oh, you would feel so much better. But it wasn't like a craving though. I've talked about that before. It will go away with time. And it goes away. And it just comes and goes. It's like, and then you just know, oh, that's just the addiction part of it. That Okay, the tired's part of it. It's all trying to get us to use, even if we crave or not crave. So if you crave, that's okay. If you don't crave and that kind of thought just pops up without a craving or having dreams, all that is part of the rewiring. And yeah, and it makes sense, like you said, reaching that equilibrium. We're feeling better, we're more functional. And so the brain's going to kind of test us like, oh, can you go back? Or no, we don't. Then that's the thing. Like we keep saying nope because we know so much. I just remind myself anxiety will come back. You start vegan, so I don't give in. Oh yeah, exactly. And the more and more we don't give in, and you're just barely 3 years, not even 3 years out. So like that's so normal. And the more and more we stay free, the more and more the dopamine grows naturally, and we just. So how many? I don't see how many are on the chat.
7.
7. Okay, cool.
We can go if you want. Little bit.
Oh, we can go?
No.
Yeah, I'm tired. Just
No,
all the talking.
I mean that you can speak more if you want.
Oh, or yeah, I can keep going. I kind of like it, because I did want to talk about how. So the other day, okay, so probably like a year and a half ago, because I couldn't listen to music. I couldn't listen to music at the beginning. It was too stimulating. It sounded distorted. It sounded weird. I didn't get any pleasure from it. It's so weird. We talk about that. Not being able to watch movies sometimes. You just didn't care about the storyline. We still here. You can't go. We won't go yet. And I couldn't relate to the storyline. I didn't care about the characters. And it was all dopamine. Because you start to feel it when it comes back. Just kind of like when I was saying cleaning or doing yard work. It's all, you can just feel that natural dopamine. I don't understand. Be the 24th. But so I remember like kind of the first times I heard a song and it felt like sometimes I would try to turn the song on in the car, like if I was driving, still having bad anxiety, but I would still drive and I would try to turn the radio on and it sounded weird. I was like, is this a different song? Like it sounded like the way my brain was picking up the certain tones or the certain treble, and it almost sounded like they made a completely different song and put a completely different song out, but it was my brain. It was my brain interpreting the music differently than what it used to know it as. But then that all came back. So I would, play all my old songs on YouTube, like a lot of 80s stuff and 90s. And then I would try to sing because I love to sing, and then I'd be exhausted afterwards. So I can only do like 3 or 4 songs. So the other day, I think I sang like 50 songs. Like I just, all of them. What's that one? It's been 7 hours and 15 days since you took your love away. What was her name? She passed away.
I don't remember.
I want to give her props.
So
Does anybody know in the chat? I think she was Irish. Since you've been gone, I can do whatever I want. If you watch the movie The Princess Bride, that can help you see the Lord Jesus Christ.
Sinead O'Connor.
Sinead O'Connor. Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, that kind of music, I love The Princess Bride. Sinead O'Connor. Yes. Oh, see, I got that after you. I've got a lag in the messages.
Mandy, I will take water.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the other day when I was singing, okay, so this was the difference. So before, Nothing Compares to You. Yeah, song. Oh, because I was like here's another thing. And y'all might know this, like nostalgic feelings come back from our past and it feels so good and just, oh. So the first couple times I would listen to music and I would feel really good and sing and, remember my childhood, or remember like, oh yeah, I'm Mandy and I have this like whole life, because we lose connection to everything, even to ourselves. And I would look at pictures of myself and I'd be like, not that I didn't know who I was, I just couldn't connect. And then the connection starts coming back. And so then this time I was singing an old country song. And I don't know, because I know a lot of y'all are from different parts, but there was this country song from this group called Shenandoah. And it's called I'm Just a Ghost in This House. And it's real pretty and sad and sappy. And I used to always be really sappy and sad when I was young, because I think I just had a lot of emotional issues, but that weren't real issues. Now that I know, I was just stressed from my life, from my family life and stuff. And, I was on caffeine. But it's always very emotional. And so I'm listening to that song and I get up and I'm cleaning and I start singing it and I just start crying. I'm just crying, all these emotions, and it feels good and all this release. But then I also start kind of two-stepping with myself. And I just felt like I wanted to just two-step with my husband. And I just remembered that feeling of being at the club or the bar and dancing and just them looking at you and you're looking at them. And there's just that you could just tell that they desire you and love you. And it just felt so good. So before I kind of had the connection of singing with myself, and then I had more of a connection, like what I remembered it being like that. So there's different intimacies. When we talk about intimacy, there's like the sexual one and just like that connection with somebody else. And another thing too that I thought was really cool that's come back or just never experienced this was, I always thought I was a very empathic person, but had a lot of empathy. And one time I was babysitting the dogs and I started looking at the dog thinking, like, instead of me just looking at the dog, it was looking back. I think I've shared that before. I could see and feel like it has its own little life and its own, because we get so stuck in our own thoughts and our own selfishness that we forget, we just see things through our own perspective. And I was like, I could just feel like he's looking at me through his own eyes and he has like his own, perspective. And it just felt so good. It felt like, I don't know, just connection. And then I did that with my husband. I'm like, oh my gosh, he has his own life and his own perspective and his own feelings and thoughts. And it's just cool. I don't know if anybody's ever lost it, or if anybody's ever felt that way. And maybe it is. Again, some of the things I talk about are very common sense type stuff. Like I was telling my husband something the other day and he was like, yeah, that's like a given. Like that's common sense. And I'm like, yeah, but there's one thing to be aware of it, which I was before in addiction, but then another thing to like be aware, but then experience it all. Like people talk about stuff all the time. Like, oh, it's just people's opinions. Opinions are like buttholes. Everybody has one. But when you really start living in a calm state and you're being your most authentic self and all that, it just hits different. I don't know. So yeah, the singing. So there's 5 people now, right?
Yep.
So the singing just felt really good. And I did sing more than ever, but then at the end I was kind of like, oh, I'm a little tired, because I was singing Celine Dion. I was like, I sound just like her. I'm just kidding.
We can go, Mandy, like
like
maybe 10 minutes if that's
10 minutes
okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah, it's getting late for you. It's late, right?
Yeah, I still have to
Yeah, I still have
warm this house.
warm this house.
And I kind of want to get out of these clothes and put my comfy clothes on.
And I will get the wood and I will try to fix this computer.
Yeah, you work so hard. But I'm kind of done really talking. My throat's kind of getting sore. And
any questions?
If anybody else has any more, 1 more hour is okay. Because it goes by a lot faster when Ani and I are both talking, but me doing most of the talking is like, woo, I love to talk, but woo. Because how long have we been going so far? Like an hour and a half?
Hour and a half. It's good.
Wow, yeah. I have to leave, but wanted to say goodbye for now. Goodbye, friend.
Bye. Nice to see you.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Keep it up.
Keep it up.
Keep up the good work.
The good work.
Yes. What else? What else could I just for the next couple minutes? I feel like I'm going to be able to start part-time working pretty soon. I've been doing a lot of organizing, cleaning, which feels really good. I'm going to the beach for my birthday next week, so we'll be there 5 days. And I just want to keep kind of taking my time with the plant work and the cleaning because I feel like in the next month or 2 or 3 or 4, somewhere around there, I'll be able to start working again. Because I did try. I tried in my 3.5, and I tried this past summer with working. And anything about dreams? Yes. Can you talk weight after quitting? Yes. So yeah, I was so scared of everything. Speaking of weight loss first, I was so scared of everything that I ate really what I thought was really clean. And I'm still sugar free, sugar. I don't eat any sweets, but I eat a lot. Like I eat 4 or 5 times a day. I just eat because I think our body really needs that. I think we should listen to I think when we're free of substances, we should just listen to our body. Then I did carnivore for a year, starting in my 17, 18 months, and that was just too stressful on the body. So I was skinny. I was super skinny. I'm 5'11". What did we do? We said that before with I know that's the metric system. What am I? 179? I think I'm 179 centimeters. I'm big and I'm tall. And I got down to 132 pounds, which is, I need to have that memorized.
No worries.
2 lbs. I was 50. So I'm 5'11", and I was 59.87 kilograms. I was super skinny.
Yeah.
And now I am, now I'm 80, 80.7. So I want to lose 15 pounds, which is, I want to be 160 at 5'11" with muscle. Which will be 72 kilograms, but with muscle. So it'll be different. And this isn't the heaviest I've ever been. I've been a lot heavier when I was on everything. I just don't want to get any heavier for my height. Like over 179 is pushing it. I already feel like I'm a little bit, but I'm not worried about it because I know it's going to level off when I'm working and working out. I have a friend who's 15 months ahead of me, and she had gained some weight. And then once she started working and stuff and just eating, it's just all, she's like, Mandy, I have the metabolism that I did when I was a teenager. So I know it's going to work itself out. So if we feel like we're too skinny or we feel like we're too big, everything's just, the body's just doing I just think just eat food, just eat. Yeah. And then about dreams, in the beginning, I started having very, 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 very vivid dreams. I was like, oh, this is the way we dream. Like everything was in super high definition color. I could remember every single detail. And for a very long time, I thought this is the way we dream. And then I realized walking. Yeah, I love walking. So does, and Ani's very good with walking. So much dreams still for me, so vivid. Yeah, and so I mean, like vivid. And then that kind of went away for a while. And then my dreams were just, I know I was dreaming. And I think the more vivid the dreams, I think the more healing is happening. I kind of think that. I don't know if that's completely true, but I don't think that, yes, my dreams have come back in at 4 years so vivid. Okay, so you're saying that they were, and then they were at the beginning, they were vivid, and then it kind of subsided, and then the vividness came back. Because I've had that way too. I've had it to where it kind of goes away and then it comes back, but nothing was like the beginning. It was very vivid. And maybe you can straight. Oh, my dad and I pray when we eat. I don't practice that all the time, but my dad's Catholic. I'm not very big on like religion in the sense of like, oh, you got to go to Catholic church. I'm just very, I'm Christian. Speak side. And I'll pray too. I'll try to do a prayer. I don't know how good it'll be, but and so yeah, the dreams, it's all good. Is there any other questions? And I just know from talking to other people who have recovered the vivid dreams, it gets better. So it just made me think that's when a lot of healing is happening. Or they were vivid and went away a bit and yes, came back now. Yeah. Very, very normal. That happened to me too. So cool. And I just think that until we're completely 100% recovered, we're going to have ups and downs. We're going to get drizzled on or have kinks or have moments or whatever we want to say until we're completely recovered. And that's so normal too. Like, yes, it does slowly get better. The dopamine is growing, then it kind of goes away to do more healing and energy being spent for that and everything. But it's very normal. And I think that like for where Ani and I are now, like, yes, we have had our moments recently, but I like to say kind of like, it's really nothing to write home about compared to the beginning. Simple relationship. Compared to the beginning or compared to the big wave, the moments that we have had in the last like 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. Yeah, in the moment might kind of be like, I really want to be 100%. But then we know we're so much better. We keep seeing improvement. We know that's how healing goes. It's not linear. You start getting more dopamine. And so even like, and I said this, I think in the last video, that you can be out and about. Yeah, body temperature. Yeah. You can be out and about and still kind of have like brain fog maybe, or like some type of mild symptom, but you got so much dopamine, the dopamine kind of overrides the symptom until we're just one day you're like, oh, I don't have that symptom anymore at all. But yeah, changes in body temperature at the beginning, I couldn't handle any type of heat because if you know about homeostasis, it is in charge of our body temperature, blood pressure, uh, uh, hormone regulation. That's what homeostasis is, getting it all to balance. And so when we quit, because it messes up that system, because it was in allostasis and now it's going back to homeostasis. Like for me, for example, because I quit in June of 2020, that whole summer, oh my goodness, I'd go outside and it was just terrible. Compared to last summer, every summer after that, I was loving it. Like I was talking with Ani the other day and I was sitting in my car and I can sit there and just like let sweat and like let the heat hit me. And I couldn't have done that before. I'd get panicky and like, oh, I can't breathe. And I mean, yeah, I want to let the wind in, the air in, but I don't feel like panicky at all. And I love the heat now. Like last summer was my best summer. I was getting tanned and I was absorbing I think like when you have more nutrients, like you get like a nice, like you don't burn as much. And if you do kind of get red the next morning, because we heal so much when we sleep. So like the next morning, if it was a little bit red the night before, it was like a tan the next day. So cool. You don't need sunglasses as much. Like going outside, you're not like blind, you're not like a vampire anymore.
Okay. Yeah. But I think we're gonna start go.
Okay.
I will get the wood.
Yes.
But Mandy, say the last words because I can.
Okay. Yes. So if you are a Christian and prayed, you can pray. So thank you, dear Lord. We are all here. We're all doing our best. Some of us are completely sober. Some of us are weaning. Some of us want to quit. I think it's such a blessing that we all have this information. I know that through you, we have come to this time in our life where we do have this understanding and information, and that you are the one that gave us this information, and that with your grace, we are healing. I know some people, they want this to go away completely, and that you can't just completely take it away for us in a second. maybe you could if you wanted to, but I think that we're learning stuff through this process. And I think that's why it takes so long, because we're learning and we're doing that through your grace. I know that for sure. You do give us so much love and your grace, and we're always safe. Amen.
Thank you.
So much love to everybody.